Well, hello and welcome to this Tuesday's Movie News. I am John, here fractionally early. I started the animation just slightly before 11:05 because I wanted to be early for a change. I'm usually late, but I was early tonight, and I'm happy about it, and I'm going to get into the show on that note. And I can barely see the actual monitor, the actual article in front of me, so this is going to be interesting times ahead. But look, this is the article, this is the headline I'm speaking about on the show tonight. It's all about Timothée Chalamet, as we like to jokingly call him. Chalamet, as everyone else on the planet likes to call him. Great actor, one of the truly stupendous up-and-coming names in Hollywood. I say up-and-coming, this guy's done about fucking 15 top-of-the-range movies already in his very short career, and he's been cast to play one William Wonka in the Paul King prequel movie that I didn't really want, and then I changed my mind on it and decided, you know what, I do want it because it's Paul King, it's directing it, and this guy is a tour de force in his own right. This guy has done the Paddington movies, which I think are both perfect movies. I'd give them A's if we were reviewing them, and that is reflected in the actual Rotten Tomatoes rating, because it's 100% the top rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes as things stand. That was Paul King, he directed those two movies, so he came in to helm this obviously prequel Willy Wonka story, and that piqued my interest. There was lots of zany ideas out there. Could it be Michael B. Jordan coming in to play a black Willy Wonka? Could it be someone different? And of course the gold standard performance has been two. We had Johnny Depp's one, the god awful Johnny Depp one, and then the gold standard was obviously the great performance in the 1970s. And look, man, it's going to be hard shoes to fill, but I'm very confident that Timothée Chalamet will step in and do a job here. He will be respectful to this, because look, man, I grew up with this movie. I'm not going to say I seen it when it first came out. It was 1975 or something. This movie came out 72. I didn't grow up watching it in that sense, but I grew up as a kid in the 1990s dabbling with these musical movies, and the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a musical movie. And I grew up watching it, and I was equal parts terrified, horror-struck by what I was seeing, and absolutely loving it, because it was a great movie, man. And look, of course, the great Gene Wilder sadly missed. We lost him a couple of years ago, I do reckon. And he sadly had dementia, and it was a terrible ending for that guy. But when he was alive, he touched many hearts, and he shone bright. So that's absolutely fine. When you lose greats, it's tinged with tragedy, but you've got an indelible touch that he left on millions of souls. And look, man, I grew up, I'm going off on tangents already, watching this movie, and it was his performance that really made it for me. It wasn't a little kid, it wasn't the pish-stained grandfather in the bed. It was all about Gene Wilder and the performance he brought in bringing this zany, eccentric chocolate factory owner to life. And of course, all of the inner machinations within that, the Oompa Loompas, the eclectic machinery that was in this place. How did this guy come to get this factory? How did he come to stumble across these tiny little orange-faced Oompa Loompas with green hair? That is what's going to get delved into in this movie. I do believe there is a prequel story that was written. Was it Roald Dahl? I think it actually wrote the books, the Willy Wonka books. I don't know if it was Roald Dahl, but I'm pretty sure he did a sequel, or a prequel I should say, and it was actually based on obviously Willy Wonka going to he stumbled into this land that the Oompa Loompas were, and he brought them in on board and obviously crafted this chocolate factory. So it's an interesting story to start. You have the origins of the Willy Wonka story and the origins of the Oompa Loompas. So that's intriguing. You bring in the brilliance of Paul King, and you've got me there, because he's a tremendous director for the aforementioned reasons. Then you fucking cast Timothée Chalamet, man. And as I say, I think he'll handle it with the care, the carefulness required. He won't do a stupid performance. Like, I love Johnny Depp, I think he's great. But that performance was wrong, man. It was too creepy. He delved into paedophile territory with that performance. Gene Wilder done something a little bit more nuanced. He was disturbing, he was eccentric. You didn't know how to take this guy until the final sort of part of the movie, when it was all unveiled, the rationale behind it. He was trying to fish out the bad eggs and give the legacy of this factory to the right kid. And of course he nearly killed them as well. He nearly killed poor Charlie and his grandfather as well in that sort of bubble sequence. Johnny Depp went too far. It was almost paedophile. It was disturbing for another reason. It was like, this guy is a fucking creep. It was too creepy. I'm absolutely certain that Chalamet will handle it with carefulness, and I'm absolutely certain that he will deliver a truly stupendous performance. I think he's a tremendous talent. I think he's one of the best young talents. I don't know how young he is. I think he's probably about 24 or something, 25. He's still young enough to be called a young actor. I think this is a absolutely inspirational choice from, I presume it's by a casting director who's done this. It won't be Paul King who's involved. I think it's inspirational though. I think this guy has got it within him to helm this and maybe future Willy Wonka movies if it's a success, because he is so young. It's been broken by Deadline. I think they're reporting that it's going to be a musical, which is important, because I did say the original was a musical. It had that famous song that obviously Gene Wilder sung. I can't even remember the words, but that tune, you know what I'm talking about. One where he's in the fucking grassy part and he's singing. What's the words to that again? Oh god, I listened to it not long ago. I do love it, man. It's got some great musical numbers in it. Of course, the song and dance number with Charlie and the old pish-tained grandfather. I call him pish-tained because he most certainly was pish-tained. He was reeking. He hadn't showered in a long, long time. Then when the thought of a potential jackpot came to the forefront, he was out that bed springing about. He did a dance number. There is some nice dance numbers in there. I'm looking forward to this movie, man. I'm looking forward to the dance numbers. I'm already hoping that it's the La La Land guys who are involved, those two guys that done the music for that movie, because they've worked in subsequent releases and they've been Oscar nominated movies. I hope they're the guys behind the music. They penned something original and unique. I hope that the would-be Paul Atreides, that is Timothée Chalamet, does a great authentic performance. He does enough to differentiate himself from Gene Wilder, but pays homage in equal measures, because it was the gold standard performance, and it's just synonymous with Gene, let's be honest. I shut the Johnny Depp performance out of my mind. I blanked it out. It doesn't exist in me now. Really excited about it. I'm not going to linger on it too long, man. I'm excited to see what obviously King does with this, because he's a tremendous director, and excited to see how they fill the rest of the cast out. I do hope that it does delve into the Oompa Loompa origin story. I know that I'm pretty sure there was a book. I'm not entirely certain if there was a book, but I'm sure I read when they were initially speaking about doing this, Sony, that there was a book that delved into the origins of the Oompa Loompas. They may want to go off and do something totally different, and that's absolutely fine. I want to see the origins of the Oompa Loompas, though, these creepy little fucking dwarf characters, and how they came to be in the company of this eccentric chocolate factory owner. But look, I'm moving on, man. Excited about that. I'm a big fan of the original, and I'm looking forward to seeing the future now that Chalamet is in there. One of my favourite actors of today's game. But look, this next one, it's all about Bob Chapek, the would-be all-seeing, all-hearing, omnipotent kingpin of Disney. And certainly there is only really one department, isn't there? It's video, and that is what it is. There's no comics, there's no other shit going on with Disney. It's a video streaming movie studio. He is the guy who oversees it all. He stepped into the shoes of Bob Iger about, 3 years ago or something, 2 years ago. And he's been out and he's been speaking about the strategy involving the release of Black Widow and a potential strategy for other movies during this pandemic era. I know a lot of people have been vaccinated in the United States. A lot of people have been vaccinated here as well. But sadly the world doesn't end and begin in the United Kingdom and the United States. There's still a lot of countries where there is a lot of money to be won in terms of attracting eyeballs into theatres that haven't vaccinated quite so as well as us. And of course, that's going to affect the strategy of this huge studio, the biggest studio in Hollywood, and how they deal with these movies. Do they put them out in theatres alone, or do they put them in a sort of dual release strategy on the streaming service for a premium pay point? Well, Chapek has been out speaking about it. This is coming in from MovieWeb. Just want to look at that logo, that poster again, because it truly is a tremendous poster. She is a tremendous looking woman, and she is sporting it well behind, with that red thing behind her, that logo, that sort of hourglass logo. Very good poster, enjoying it. And I'm looking forward to this movie, I have to say. Having went to see Tenet in these theatres and got to experience the trailer in these theatres with the booming sound system, this is a movie that's made for theatres, and that's why ultimately I will be forgoing the whole Disney Plus premium price point thing. But look, different strokes for different folks. This is what Bob Chapek had to say. I think it was during a conference, a communications conference. He had this to say: there's a whole bunch of data points we have to assimilate to make those decisions. The first consideration is it a big tentpole theatrical franchise? Well, it is in this case. If it is something like a Marvel movie or a Lucas movie, You what? A Lucas movie? Lucas hasn't made movies in about fucking 20 years. What are you talking about, Chapek? Something that's going to have legs, plays into a larger mythology. We have already delayed Black Widow a couple of times. We didn't want to delay it again. Yet at the same time, we always knew there was a risk that exhibition wasn't going to be fully developed, or consumers wouldn't want to go back and sit in the theatres. So we realised we had to sort of prime the pump, and I like that terminology, was nice, prime the pump, and give theatrical exhibition a chance. That's very kind of you, Disney. Doing much better than Warner Brothers, I have to say. We couldn't put all of our eggs in the theatrical exhibition basket because we knew that in the weeks leading up to the decision that the domestic market was not coming back, and it's still fairly weak, so we are very confident that we made the right call there. Well, domestically in the States it's weak, but you must remember, Chapek, that's Godzilla vs. Kong, and I do believe Mortal Kombat made decent money internationally, so there is certainly a will to go to a theatre internationally. It might not be there for the States quite yet, but I'm sure it'll come back at some point. Look, this movie's coming out shortly. I'm pretty sure it's coming out next month, so it's probably the correct decision for Chapek and Disney to take, in the sense that they can't risk putting this movie out in theatres exclusively, because if it fails, then they've lost $200 million. And a company like Disney, hot on the heels of a pandemic, made a lot of losses already, sitting on a lot of big projects. And as far as I'm led to be aware, these projects are financed by outside forces, banks, people like that, financial institutions. And they're sitting on that money, and it's accruing interest, and they are owing more and more money to these banks. So the longer they sit, months on months on months, and they've been sitting for a year with 3 projects at least, Shang-Chi, Eternals, and this, it's costing them more money. And then it's promotional, continually changing dates, it's costing them money. They want to get this out, but they don't want to lose too much money. It could fucking sink Disney. Even Disney could be sunk by that kind of loss during this tumultuous time. So they want to hedge their bets and put it on the streaming service as well. And look, we have seen Trolls the World Tour. We've seen the likes of Mulan. I'm trying to think what else has went out. I think Soul went on the streaming service. Do good business. They have made decent, of course Trolls went on the actual, it was Warner Brothers, they put it on a streaming service, and I'm pretty sure it was Warner Brothers, might have been Universal, can't recall, but it made very good money for a streaming service, premium point, pay point. So there is a desire there for some people, maybe families with 4, 5, 6 kids, 3 kids, doesn't matter how many kids, who have to pay a ridiculous amount of money when they go to the theatres, not just for the tickets, but for all the food, the popcorn, the drinks. They are saving a fucking bomb by just spending $30 and watching it in the house and having rewatchability in the sense of Disney Plus, because it's not rental, it's actual, you get to keep it as long as you're subscribed to the stream service. So I understand why they're doing it, they're hedging their bets. There's a community there who are enjoying that instant gratification, want to stay in the house and watch it on their sofas, and there is people like me who still want to go and enjoy the experience of the theatres. And in this case, we have the best of both worlds, and we'll see how the cards fall and how it does for this movie. How many people will go out and support it in the theatres and watch it numerous times like I did with Tenet, and how many people will go and pay the $30 premium price point on the streaming service. I don't know how the fuck it's going to work out, but this is how Chapek has ended things. One of the things we learned is that flexibility is good. We are really celebrating that flexibility. We're trying to offer consumers more choice. Look, it's absolutely Paramount, is that even the correct word? I was going to say Paramount. I thought, is it the correct word? I don't know. But it's absolutely important that you offer choice in all forms of medium, for lack of a better word. You do it with music. People can buy it in hard copy. They can go and buy vinyls. That's booming. They can listen to it on a streaming service. They can digitally buy it. There is so much choice for music. Why not have that with movies? Now, I'm a traditionalist. I like to go and watch movies in the theatres. I'm going to go and watch Conjuring 3 this week, funnily enough. I don't know when it's coming out, but I'm going to watch it. I'm firmly in that category, but there's part of me that also wants to stream and maybe rent something that I'm not so keen to go and watch in a theatre. Maybe a smaller indie kind of movie or something like that. There's times where I can't be arsed going to the theatre as well, even though I'm a traditionalist. So it's good to have flexibility. He's absolutely right, Shapek. It's good to have choice. I'm certainly pro-choice in this case. And it's just good to see evolution for the movie industry. We've seen it with music, and music is a huge industry as well. Maybe not as big as movies or TV, but it's certainly big. They went digital. It's inevitable. All things that are analogue will eventually go digital. We will have the theatrical windows shortened. It's already happening. There's deals being penned with Universal, Warner Brothers, AMC, Cinemark over in the States. I don't know how that translates to theatres over here. But there has been deals penned to shorten the theatrical window from 3 months, 6 months to get a movie in home release, right all the way down, man. So it's almost instantaneous. It's required, man. The Zoomers do not like to wait. They want things at their fingertips immediately, and that's usually beneficial for everyone else, because the new generation spark the change and they level up everybody else. So that's absolutely fine. Look, I'm moving on though. Lasted on that way too long. The dog has just farted. It is evil beyond words. I can't tell you how bad it is. I wish there was smell-o-vision so I could actually let you smell what I'm smelling, and you would actually bulk, probably go up the stairs and be sick, or down the stairs if you're in a bungalow and be sick, or outside and be sick if you're in a trailer. It is fucking evil beyond words, and I'm just going to have to keep my composure here and keep speaking and hope that the smell dissipates in short shrift. Thank you, Harley. Speaking about Marvel's Eternals here, Disney's Eternals I should say, Chloe Zhao's next project, the current Best Picture and Best Director recipient. And she put out a trailer. Well, she didn't. Disney put out a trailer a couple of days ago. We reacted to it. Was it yesterday? It was fucking yesterday, wasn't it? Yesterday, we reacted to it yesterday, John. Come on, lose my marbles here. They put a trailer out and it get mixed reception. There was some people who were questioning every single little part of the trailer. There's some people out there just on a witch hunt against Disney content at the moment. The knives are out, they're sharpened, and they want to go after whatever the hell Disney release. They're not happy about Falcon and the Winter Soldier and the apparent fucking force representation and the whole story about Isaiah and the black struggle in the States. Some white people, and I'm going to call them out because I'm white and I can get to call out white people and not get called reverse racist, if that's such a thing, are just not fucking happy to ever see anyone different to themselves on the screen, to see stories being portrayed about minority communities. They're just pissed off every time they see it. And these people will bitch, and these are the kind of people who hold a vendetta, and they will go after the next project. They'll downrate it on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that. A little basement dwelling shitheads. So they're going after the Eternals. And there's the other people who are rightly questioning a specific line. I think it was uttered by Angelina Jolie in this trailer. That line being, where the fuck, and I'm paraphrasing heavily here, of course, she didn't swear, where the fuck were the Eternals when that happened there? When Thanos wiped out half of the universe? One perplexed fan asked. I'm equally perplexed. I'll get into it in a moment, why I don't think this will be an issue, because, to be quite frank, I don't think Kevin Feige is that untidy. I don't think he's that careless. I think he will have every single pothole, every single scenario covered. This guy does not make mistakes like that. He is clinical in the process of expanding this universe, in the process of making movies, and little tidbits and Easter eggs that you can look back on in hindsight, like you did with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and point things out. That's how on the ball their studio are, how on the ball their head figure is. They don't make mistakes like that. That's what I'm saying. But look, man, it's coming in from The Independent. I don't really know the political persuasion of The Independent, but needless to say, I'm offended by the logo. And I don't even know what the logo is. A fucking eagle. I don't know why it says that. Eagle's the national animal of Scotland. The golden eagle. So I'm not offended by it, but I just we'll get into it, man. We'll get into it. I'm gibbering here. Marvel fans are mocking the Eternals trailer for conveniently retconning their absence from the MCU. Well, don't get too hasty there, Independent. Who is it that's wrote this? Don't get too hasty, Jacob Stallworthy. As I did say, Kevin Feige doesn't make mistakes like that. So just wait till the movie comes out and watch it and see what the explanation is. I'm sure it's all tied up. Not a chance if he made a mistake like that. This will mark the first time, blah, 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 blah. We have watched Unguided, we have helped them progress and seen them accomplish wonders. Throughout the years, we have never interfered until now. Now, we do not know the timeline of this movie. That's the next point. We don't know when this movie is going to be set. This could be set right at the end or during the events of Endgame. They could come out of the shadows and have some unseen influence on the events we see in Endgame. We don't know when this movie is going to take place, so right away people are jumping to assumptions and bitching like little fuckers. But needless to say, there has been some people on social media moaning. What a surprise. Moaning on Twitter. Well, I would never have thought that. Never. Haru82 says this: one thing that bothers me about the Eternals, throughout the years we have never interfered until now. So when half of the galaxy turned to space dust by a snap of a finger, you guys were just like, this is fine. I don't know the actual mythology of the Eternals. I don't know if they are... Well, they must be fucking eternal. They're called the Eternals. I presume they can't die. But another explanation is they were snipped out of existence. But I don't think so. I think they're actual godly things. They're like the actual Maya in The Lord of the Rings. The sort of godly creatures who are borderline immortal. Not borderline in this case because they're called the Eternals. Haru's continued. That's the same tweet. He's not continued. Haru's very much done. This Sensei. Can't even read these fucking names here. Having a stroke. This Sensei says this: haha, YouTubers trolling Marvel with the "we have never interfered until now" Eternals trailer phrase, meaning whatever happens in this movie has to be bigger than wiping half the universe for them to interfere. Well, there is bigger forces at work in the Marvel Cinematic Universe than Thanos. And look, it all got right, didn't it? The universe came back, and it has its issues as well. We've seen that exploding Falcon. But there is bigger entities in this Marvel Cinematic Universe that could be dabbled with. Needless to say, man, there's not many tweets they have. Look, it wasn't a mistake from me. They actually posted the Haru tweet twice. The Independent. What a fucking joke of a pater. They have posted that tweet twice. So it wasn't even me. It was them. They were to blame. I'm going to round it up by saying this, man. Once again, I'm going to go back to the actual thing I says at the very start before I went in and read the actual tweets and the response on social media. I do not believe that Kevin Feige would be so lazy to make a mistake like that. There will be a good reason for them sitting in the shadows. They maybe thought the Avengers had it tied up. Maybe they had complete faith in Steve Rogers, Captain Rogers, as they uttered at the end of the trailer, and the other gang to come together and right the wrong that was the half universe being snapped out of existence. That may be the case, I don't know, but there will be a reason for them sitting in the shadows. I don't know if it's the timeline of this movie. It ends, or perhaps them coming out of the shadows times perfectly for Endgame. I don't know what the reason is, but Kevin Feige will not make a mistake like that. This guy has not made a mistake like that in the last 12 years. He has been absolutely on the money, consistent moneymaker for Disney. That's why he's the head of Marvel now, not just the film side of things. This guy is the head of the whole Marvel operation. They trust this guy with their lives. He's one of the greatest producers in the history of Hollywood. He will not fuck this up. If they come out of the shadows for some event, then there will be a reason for it. It will all be explained in this movie. I'm absolutely convinced. I heard someone say that this could be the first big flop for Marvel. This could be the first disaster for their whole operation. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen for a long, long time, man. There will be a point where we will have a disaster of a Marvel movie. In fact, it's already happened. It was Iron Man 3 and For the Dark World. I don't think this will be a disaster. They know how important this movie is in terms of passing the baton on to a new era of characters, a new saga. This is highly important, just as important as Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man No Way Home in terms of the multiverse concept. They will get it right. I'm absolutely confident in it. But I'm moving on, man, to something I'm not confident in, something that's not going to happen. There is a hashtag currently trending on Twitter. Hashtag make Solo 2 happen. And they've not got a chance in hell of this happening. There is no chance that we will have a Solo 2. Ron Howard won't come back, and Lord and Miller certainly won't come back. And there's just not enough willpower from the studio to utilise Alden Ehrenreich again. He lacked the core components of a leading man for me. He didn't have any of Harrison Ford's charisma, his intangible charm. He's just not as good an actor as Harrison Ford, and he's not fucking tall enough. There you go, I've said it. The guy's 5'8.5", 5'9" or some shit like that. He's not tall enough. Harrison Ford was fucking massive when he was younger, so I didn't hate the performance. I thought it was okay. The movie was just okay. That just summed the movie up in one word: okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't shit. And considering the tumultuous development, the production, sacking the original directors a month out from it finishing, I think they turned out that they actually managed to create something decent. And look, that's probably speaking to the directing capabilities of Ron Howard. The guy is an absolute steady pair of hands. That's why they brought him in a sense. They know what this guy can do. He's worked with Lucasfilm in the past, and obviously the likes of Willow and stuff like that. This will not happen though, man. There's a fucking uprising from certain sections of the Star Wars fandom on Twitter, and they're tweeting out pictures, I believe, of George at the Solo premiere, and for no other reason, they're saying that they need more Solo. Needless to say, I'm just reading that, paraphrasing lightly. Here's some of the tweets here. Tweeting this picture of George at the Solo premiere for no other reason to make Solo 2 happen. It's not going to happen, and George isn't going to come back. You burnt your bridges with George when you slagged off his prequels. Steve Bowen says this: I need more Solo, yo. This is quickly crept up as one of my favourites. Oh, come on. Star Wars Explained. Whoa. It's make Solo 2 happen day. I like Solo a lot, but it was largely about stuff that we already knew happened. The Kessel Run, meeting Chewie, getting his blaster, origin story stuff. I'd love a sequel or series. It can surprise me and develop all the new stuff introduced. Well, it's never going to be new, is it? Star Wars Explained, because we know how it ends. So we already know how the Solo character ends. We know how he develops, because there's been books filled it in, and that's part of the canon as far as I'm aware. So you can add some things into his younger years before we meet him in A New Hope, but ultimately it's all fruitless because we know how it ends. So there's not really anything new that's going to really surprise you, is there? This tweet here, this is the last one I'm reading. It's the last one there anyway. Johnny Hoy. Okay, Johnny. It took 7 years for the Clone Wars to return. I had spoken with someone directly involved with the production of that show who told me the fans were indeed a big part of saving the Clone Wars. Don't ever think your voice is insignificant in sharing what you love. Well, it's only significant if there is a willpower from the actual people involved in the studio to make it happen. It was like the Snyder Cut. It was only really because it was beneficial to Warner Brothers and HBO and AT&T in the sense that they could plant that movie on the streaming service, which they're trying to grow, and bring eyeballs into the streaming service, make them subscribe to the channel, and then if they can't do that, get money from other places for people to watch it. That was the only real reason that movie was made again, or remade in the obviously image of Zack Snyder. It's because it was beneficial to the studio, to the money makers. It was nothing to do with fan power. The fans maybe had some say, but it was the studio. Come on, let's not kid ourselves on here. They don't have that much sway. And it's the same with Star Wars, man. It will only really happen if it was something that Alden Ehrenreich wanted, if Donald Glover was pushing for it, if someone within Lucasfilm, deep within the recesses of that studio, pushed for it. Maybe a Glover, not a Glover, maybe a Filoni, maybe a Favreau or something. Maybe Howard wants to come back and do it, Ron Howard. I don't know. But you need people within the organisation to push for it. The fans on their own, on Twitter, do not have enough power. They can kick and scream and ask for what they want, but it's not going to fucking happen, man. They've wanted rid of Kathleen Kennedy for about 5 years. She's still there. So ultimately, I would like to see spin-off TV shows with the characters. I think Donald Glover's an absolute incredible guy. I love him as a performer, as a stand-up comedian, as a singer. And I thought his Lando was probably the one redeeming thing from it. Ultimately, the little befreckled woman, the character who was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, just a weak character, really. Didn't compel me on any level. And as I says, Alden Ehrenreich just lacked everything that Harrison Ford had. And it never really struck me as being Han Solo. No, someone's commented, yes, I know. Not yes to this, and saying yes to your no. I mean, yes, you're right, no. And it ain't going to happen. So, there is elements within it. Kira, Emilia Clarke, I always like watching Emilia. If they can make that happen, the sort of criminal underworld thing with Maul, make it happen in a TV show. We do not need to have a Solo 2 on the movie theatres. In the movie theatres, it's not enough of a guarantee at the box office for them ever to do it. So it's not going to happen. That's what I'm saying, and I'm glad about it. And I'm moving on. I fucked that, not going to lie. There we go, that's what I was wanting. No, that's not it. It's the penultimate topic, John. It's topic 5, not 4. Robert Pattinson. No, I wasn't going to put this in, to be honest with you, because it's much ado about nothing, really. He signed a deal with Warner Brothers, and it's not really what I thought it was. When I read through the article, I thought, fair enough, I'll put it in anyway, I'll speak about it, because I love speaking about Robert Pattinson as well. Great guy. Done a different route with his career. This guy could have been shoehorned into rom-coms, into moody vampire movies for the rest of his life, but he chose to do something different, just like Leonardo DiCaprio did in the late 90s. He went off and took risks. Well, it wasn't really risky because he'd made his money with Twilight, let's be honest, but he'd done something different with his career. He worked with independent filmmakers, he'd done stories that compelled him. He chose to portray zany, different characters, and it paid off. It bore fruit for him, because his career now is on the rise. It's exponentially on a curve, like the COVID shit you seen a year ago. It's going up like that. This guy's hot stuff, not just as an actor, but as an actual producer, because he's just signed a multi-picture first look deal with Warner Bros. Or a first look deal, not picture. And let's not forget HBO as well, and let's not forget Discovery as well, because Discovery are actually taking over Warner Media. And of course the guy who is trumpeting to the world about that takeover merger deal says it's going to be the biggest media company on planet Earth. So this guy's signed a potential first look deal with Warner Brothers and the biggest media company on the world. So on the world's correct, because we're actually on it, we're not in it. So it's interesting. It's a ballsy move from Robert. He's a very well loved actor, and he's still very young. He's in his mid-30s, I think. So he's still got a future in acting. But look, this isn't the first time this has happened. We've seen Leonardo DiCaprio producing movies. We have got James Wan moving into production from directing. He's technically not an actor. We've got Ryan Reynolds producing movies. We've got so many big actors moving into production. Margot Robbie, Michael B. Jordan. And of course, we watched Minari and reviewed it last week, and I was struck by one name, the first name on the credits. It was actually Brad Pitt. It was an executive producer, or a producer. So Brad Pitt is producing movies as well. I think it's the natural evolution for an aging actor, and I don't want to call Robert an aging actor because he is about 36 or something. He's not much older than me, and I don't view myself as old. But it's the natural evolution. The roles can dry up for these kind of actors when their baby looks go. And how do you protect your career in Hollywood? You move into producing. You produce movies, and it gives you longevity within that industry. It gives you something different to do. And look, I presume for a guy like Robert Pattinson, who is a lover of cinema, of the art form, of the process of making movies, I can only presume that this guy is fascinated about doing something different within the industry, not just acting in front of the camera, but having an actual influence behind the scenes, in the script, in characters, and growing and developing these movies. So I've watched many of the guy's interviews, and he strikes me as a guy who's firmly having his finger on the pulse when it comes to the industry, and just creating these movies is a grander thing, not just fucking turning up at 5 in the morning and acting for 12 hours. He's switched on. But this was a statement from Pattinson. Warner Bros. Pictures and HBO have always been synonymous with groundbreaking filmmaking. They have, to be fair to them. And I'm thrilled to be working with them to discover the most exciting new voices in film. And that's another aspect, actually finding new voices, picking out budding talent and giving them a platform, a foundation to build a career out of. Helping other people up from the dirt once you have made it. Telepathy, guy we like to speak about a lot, does that a lot. He's not just about himself, selfish. He's made it, fuck everyone else, I'm alright Jack. He helps other people out. So well done Robert for trying to do that. I've loved working with the studio over the years and have so much respect for their dedication, their willingness to take chances, and their desire to push the envelope creatively, if I can speak. I think there was actually a quote from the other side of things. I think it was Richard Brenner, New Line's president. I don't know what that's got to do with anything. New Line, maybe they're part of the Warner Media greater umbrella, Lord knows. But yeah, does to say, we have been incredibly impressed with Rob's eye for identifying dynamic new filmmakers. Additionally, he is continually nurturing exciting story ideas into compelling screenplays. We are so excited that Warner Brothers and New Line will be his home. That's another guy, Jake Gyllenhaal. I just thought about Devil All Around, or All the Time. The movie that Pattinson was actually in, played a dodgy preacher. Jake Gyllenhaal actually produced it, because I think there was a thing about Tom Holland saying, I'm in this movie, and Gyllenhaal says, I'm fucking producing that movie, I'll see you on the set. Maybe not. But yeah, In Line Will Be Home, he'll benefit his creative commercial passions, blah 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 blah. Look, that line there where he says that he has an eye for identifying new filmmakers, I find that very interesting, because one of the interviews I do recall watching with him in it, he was very specific in saying that after Twilight he seeked is probably what I'm looking for, seeked out the most zany, interesting, up and coming filmmakers to work with him. He actually went out and made connections with them and asked to be part of their projects. He wasn't just sitting back waiting on stuff coming in. He went to the likes of, I think, the Safdie brothers and other interesting filmmakers and tried to encourage them to use him in the movie. So this guy's been doing this for 10 years, man. He's been going out and finding up and coming brilliant filmmakers. So it makes complete sense to me that in signing this producing deal, he's continuing that, but in this case finding up and coming unknown filmmakers and bringing them in to the actual studio and giving them a chance, because there's going to be some amazing filmmakers out there, man. There'll be the next Spielberg waiting to be fun out there, the next Nolan, look at Waititi and stuff like that coming out of nothing. They're out there. He will find them. And other people will find them. I'm absolutely certain. The other thing is the compelling screenplays, and that kind of plays into what I said before as well. This guy actively was seeking out compelling screenplays, compelling directors, people to work with. And that all plays back into that different career path he chose after Twilight. He did things differently to the easy life, what most actors, I presume, would do. They make it. They just keep churning along the same old shite, chugging out the same crap, doing the same old thing. This guy took risks. He took a different career path, and now it's paying dividends for him, because he's actually getting into producing and continuing that career path and doing the same things within producing. So this guy's going to be a very fucking rich man, that's what I'm saying, if he isn't already, because he's going to be working double duty, acting and producing. But look, the final topic on the show, I've seen this today. It was brought to my attention. I've not yet seen Army of the Dead. I will watch it this week at some point, perhaps over the weekend, because I will be watching Gilly, Telepathy movie, to review for Friday. But it was brought to my attention that there is a panic, there is an uprising of, I don't know, torrent of abuse, if you'd like, being flung towards Zack Snyder and Netflix about dead pixels and Army of the Dead. Now, I've seen a photograph, and I have to say, my first thought was autism. And I don't want to downplay autism. I know a lot of people are on the spectrum. I actually have a cousin who's on the spectrum, and it's a terrible disease. Or not disease, but it's a terrible condition that afflicts a lot of people, and a growing number of people. I think it's maybe something to do with additives and stuff like that in food, that it's just fucking with people's brains. But the first thing I thought of was autism, because there's no fucking way that any normal... And look, man, I think everyone's on the spectrum to some degree, but there's no way that a normal brain would discover these pixels. That's maybe harsh saying normal. I don't know how you'd word it, but there's no way as someone who isn't on the spectrum would notice these pixels watching this movie. It just blows my fucking mind. The actual photograph, it's a tiny little dot here and a tiny little dot there, 2 dead pixels, and people are kicking up an absolute fuss about this, and it just blows my mind. This is coming in from CBR. Annoyance at Netflix's audience. Look, I've not seen a movie. Maybe I'm being harsh on these people. Maybe if I watch it, it'll be so obvious and it'll take me out of the movie, and I'll be like, there's those dead pixels. That's so annoying. I don't know. But I highly, highly doubt it. I'll be more concerned with the story, with the action, with the compelling characters, hopefully, with Zack Snyder's direction. That's what I look for when I watch movies. I don't look for little superfluous details like dead pixels. It doesn't really stick out to me. But maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the one who's wrong here. I don't know. There's an article here. There's not really much going on there in the article. I just thought I'd bring it up because I read it today and it blew my fucking mind. People are moaning about dead pixels in a movie like this. And by all accounts, it's not the first time that Netflix have actually did this. By all accounts, there was another movie. It may have been the Ryan Reynolds one. I think it was Extraction, actually, which was Chris Hemsworth, I think. Apparently that had dead pixels in it as well. So this is a recurring thing for Netflix. My dog's snoring. He's clearly bored with me, which is probably an example for most people out there watching this. They'll be bored out the fucking nut with me speaking here. But there's previews for them doing the dead pixels. I says today when I found out about this, I was speaking about it today, and I says there is no way this is Snyder. This is not his doing, man. You can see there he uses rangefinder lenses, full frame. He uses Canon prime lenses. This guy is an absolute fanatic when it comes to shooting movies. He's got his own style. You watch a Snyder movie, you see right away, that's Snyder. You know it. There's just something about the guy's style. He uses Canon Dream lenses for other real looks, it says in this article. Shallow faces. This guy is an absolute aficionado for cinema, for the whole experience, for film, for shooting these movies. There is no way this guy has deliberately left 2 dead pixels in this movie. He would have went over it with a fine tooth comb. All of the editing would have went over it with a fine tooth comb and discovered this issue. This will be an issue on Netflix's side. They will fucked up, and the compression, I don't know, the way they put it on the actual service, there will be an error on their end. The fact it's 2 movies now with the same issue confirms it to me. This ain't Zack Snyder, and they will sort it for all those little anal panty wetters who are getting taken out of the movie with dead pixels. They will sort it, but it's definitely not Snyder. I know for a fact it ain't Snyder. Well, that's going to round the show up, man. I thought I'd end on that note. I hope I've not offended anyone watching who perhaps has Asperger's or autism. I've got absolutely no gripes. I'm not trying to belittle it. I know it's a serious thing, and I know a lot of people are afflicted with it, man, and I wouldn't try to belittle it, so I hope no one's took offence if they're watching this. That's not my intention at all, but I know people who are on the spectrum. It's very much like people who are on the spectrum. They would nitpick and pick up and things like that. It's one of the telltale signs. But look, needless to say, that's going to round the show up. I've said needless to say about the 10th time there. What is your thoughts on Timothée Chalamet getting headhunted, getting cast as Willy Wonka in this Paul King prequel movie? Is that something you're excited about? Were you perhaps on the fence for this movie, but now you are completely up for it, gagging for it, as they like to say in certain quarters? What do you make about the Disney CEO, Bob Chapek, coming out and speaking about their sort of reasoning out in the back of a fag packet? The reasons for their strategy in releasing these movies. What do you make about that? What do you make about the other topics, man? The Eternals. Are you anal about the whole "we have not interfered until now" thing? What's your thoughts on that? You can comment below if you've got anything to say at all in the comments section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube and hit the follow button over on Twitch if you want to see more content like this in the future, and you will get it, guys. That is how you enable. Look at that bruise on my arm from a dog. He bit me with a jumper on and it's still bruised. Got to love my dog. It was playful. It was a playful bite. But look, guys, if you subscribe, if you follow, you'll see me. If you don't, you won't, and that's absolutely fine. But look, as ever, until then, I'm done gibbering. Bye-bye. That dog.